Welcome to UnityNow, the podcast where we discuss unity stemming from the Unity 2020 plan with one goal in mind: bring unity to America and end the Republican and Democrat duopoly. This podcast is created, produced, hosted, recorded, edited, and publicized by a wonderful team of Unity volunteers that came together from all over the country to collaborate in a remote environment. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who helped create the podcast and all of you who continue to bring great content to our audience. To provide a brief introduction to Unity, we offer this. Unity 2020 was an idea that started when Bret Weinstein announced the plan on the Joe Rogan Experience in mid-June. From there, the movement was born, and since then, tens of thousands of volunteers have signed up, organized, and have begun to create a groundswell of support. This plan always included a fail-safe, so we would not be an election spoiler. This was to end the plans for the 2020 election if it was determined there was no viable path to the White House. Sadly, this became the case, and keeping our promise, this fail-safe was executed last week. However, we believe Unity continues to be the number one antidote for what ails the country right now, and so we are pressing on with a renewed spirit. To learn more and become a volunteer, please visit thearticlesofunity.org and check out Bret Weinstein's YouTube page and the Articles of Unity YouTube page for the weekly campfires. As always, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to receive more content. So today I'm joined by Unity volunteers and the leaders and members of our music team, Wil Bruninga, Danette Beavers, and Joe Houck. All three of you, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Toby.
Hi.
So all three of you have great artistic talent and fantastic ways of expressing yourself through lyrics and music. And the idea behind this episode is to show how that can help bring out the vulnerability in each of us to maybe start to hear and see the truth around things in the world. So let's see if we can go around, and if you don't mind, offer our listeners and viewers a glimpse into who you are, where you come from, and what brought you to Unity. So Wil, if you don't mind, could you kick us off?
Hi, yes, I'm from Killen, Alabama, right next to Muscle Shoals, the recording capital of the world. And so I was raised from a very early age around a lot of phenomenal musicians, and most of them have a very broad political view on the spectrum. And I found out about Unity from watching some of the IDW stuff on the internet and through a friend who told me about it and got me interested in it initially. And I started participating in the karaoke's. And I was in it from that point on and met Danette Beavers, and she and I have been working together to create some pretty cool music as well.
Great. Danette, to you then.
I'm currently living in Chile. I've been out of the country for about 15 years, which gives me an interesting perspective, interesting to me anyway. And I was born in Nevada, so I'm native Nevadan, but more or less grew up in the Sierra foothills of California. And now I'm here, and I ran into the Unity movement because I've been following Bret Weinstein for quite a long time. I discovered him on the Joe Rogan Experience with Jordan Peterson. And I had already been kind of following Sam Harris and a number of other people in that group prior to, and that's how I discovered Bret, and then, of course, Heather, and was very attracted to them because of the courage that they showed. And well, I just have been a great fan ever since and follower. So here I am trying to help in any way that's possible toward opening dialogue and trying to get the word out that we need to find better ways to communicate, because sniping at each other on Facebook is not going to work. We got to find a better way.
Couldn't agree more. So Joe, to you, and Joe is our first returning guest on the Unity Now podcast. Welcome back, Joe. And if you could also give a brief description of where you come from, and for those listeners who didn't tune into your first episode.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm Joe Houck. I live in Central Valley, California, kind of a very conservative area, and I grew up pretty conservative and then slowly kind of trickled out of the culture that I was raised in and went a little more liberal, but I was still always kind of a contrarian as far as being, co-signing myself to a party. And I was just always seeing the divisiveness between the two-party system and not really wanting to be a part of a lot of it. But I've always been interested in discussion that leads to, less divisiveness. And it's just nothing that I've seen in politics for a long time. And so I kind of checked out for a minute. And then through the IDW, Peterson, Sam Harris, Eric, and Brett Weinstein, I first saw Brett Weinstein with the whole Evergreen fiasco, and that really caught my attention. And from the first moment I listened to Brett, I was very much just enthralled with everything that he was saying. And I knew that was the direction that we should be going. And by and large, the country wasn't. And so I've made music for about, 10 plus years or so, always just kind of as a hobby, not a real focused direction. I just kind of write whatever I'm thinking about. In the last couple of years, I've just been thinking about these kind of topics, and so when I first heard about the Unity 2020 platform, that it really struck a chord with me, and decided to write a Unity specific, 2020 song, and found your guys' Facebook page and the Discord and the Slack forum and everything, and then, found a huge community that, also really likes the concept that Brett and all of them are putting forth, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Joe. So we'll kind of treat this episode as maybe a little more relaxed episode. We do have a lot to talk about in the country, of course, and all the divisiveness, and we're now less than a month away from the election, and there's lots to talk about that's going wrong, of course, and lots that's, kind of hurting our country. But we'll take a minute and have a little fun with this one, have a little discussion, maybe answer a couple questions, and if we can go through some live songs or recorded songs, that'd be great as well. So first question for each of you is, tell me how you believe music influences us in a way that's different than the way dialogue, books, or videos without music influence us. How does music do that? Anyone can go first.
For me, the first thing that comes to mind is just the kind of mere exposure effect, like it's a thing that you can repetitively hear. And so you're going to get that message across, whatever it is, whether it's positive, negative, music is just a fantastic medium to send a message, catchy, whatever. It's just going to, in this day and age, it's going to break a lot more barriers than a pamphlet, like Thomas Paine back in the day kind of thing,
I had a teacher tell me that when emotions get involved in conversation and dialogue, when emotions get extreme and exaggerated, the fact and logic goes out the window. But when emotion gets involved in music, the music just gets better and better. So that's one way that music can allow you to express yourself emotionally without shutting down conversation. And you can still get your message across through the lyrics. But I don't really focus on lyrics in songs half the time. So that is that too. But emotion, it allows you to communicate emotionally across country barriers, across language barriers, culture barriers, all of that. It's broken down by music.
Well, I think that music is a good way to unify people and leave a space. I don't want to generalize because I know that it's not always the case. But sometimes when people try to write a song that's didactic, like really teachy, it's off-putting, or at least it is to me. And so the best songs are songs where people are open and where the lyrics are open enough, or the music is open enough that people bring different interpretations to what they're hearing. And that gives some wiggle room for different kinds of people and different tastes. And they can participate in one thing, but with their own take on what exactly is happening. And so it is in itself very unifying, and it doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be, in my opinion, teachy. Does that make sense? So yeah. I think that there have to be spaces that are actually not political. And I'm not saying that you can't write a political song. No, not at all. It's all legitimate. It just has to be subtle and well-crafted and all those other things that come with music. So I'm not sure that I answered your question.
No, it was good. I think what you're saying, if I can try to put it in my own words, is that music allows you to come at something not from a echo chamber sort of mindset and leave with the same echo chamber sort of mindset. You can openly interpret it, and then maybe it helps you even explore other possible interpretations of whatever you heard. Mm-hmm. Something like that?
Yeah. I think it creates a cultural space where we don't always have to be political we can get down to more basic emotions like joy. And when you think about all songs, are not all, but practically all the songs are about sex or love, right? I mean, in some extrapolation, practically all the songs are about that. So that shows you really where our actual priorities are, right? So we have our unity in the more basic things. We don't usually want to present really specific, nobody's going to write a song about policy unless it's a joke song, like the one that I wrote, that one song called What I Know About Politics. And it's funny because it's funny to me. I shouldn't say that it's funny. I should say that it's my sense of humor. Because I'm talking about specifics in political philosophy that are absurd. Of course, it's couched in sex. Whereas when you get into the broad, really broad themes, as I said, that are typically love and heartache, those are things that we can all agree on. We love and we get hurt. And that's what we all do, no matter what. And we can be together on those things. And that's why music is so healing.
I like it. Yes. And then that kind of rolls right into my second question. I really only have a couple kind of prepared questions, and we can just have a discussion otherwise. And maybe Wil, we'll start with you. Help our viewers understand how music can help us explore and navigate political waters, specifically political. If we want to keep songs out of, being written in a political manner, well, how do we write songs that can help them, navigate those waters?
I wouldn't really know if I'm properly equipped to answer that question, because I was raised on the hippie acid rock kind of get away from politics music by my parents. They were both from the 60s generation. But you listen to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and they were not hesitant at all to tell you what they think needs to be done. And the music that was supporting those lyrics was so beautiful that if you didn't want to listen to it, you didn't have to. You could just sit there and listen to the beautiful sounds and forget about all of that. It gave you a chance to opt out of being involved in that. But again, I don't think I'm exactly qualified to talk about that just because of the kinds of music that I listen to.
I think you're all qualified to speak on these topics because you're all Americans. You're patriotic. You're for being involved in the movement. You're courageous for doing so and also coming on a podcast and, such short notice. And I think, your opinions matter just as much as any other American in the country. So, Joe, what do you think?
Well, I think kind of like what Wil was saying as far as he doesn't particularly listen to the lyrics when he's, listening to music. That's not the main motive. That the lyrics still maybe get in there subconsciously. If you're not maybe can't verbatim recite the thing, but you're still maybe getting the message on the 20th go around. If it's a song that really resonates with you. And other levels, it can still then like, oh shit, like I remember multiple songs, like listening to things and like on the 50th take, I'm like, oh, I think the song is about this. And obviously, like songs, that's what's great. What, Danette was saying, how subjective music can be, because to so many people, one song means a million different things. And that's important. But I would say just because of my style of music and how many lyrics are in each song of mine, that it's kind of hard to not be a little bit focused on some things maybe. But at the same time, I think you can still extrapolate many different interpretations from even straightforward things too. People are definitely going to imbue their own perspective with whatever they're listening to. But just music in general as a medium to get people galvanized and activated towards any kind of movement, I think is just a hallmark towards getting anything done, really. That's just, it's a staple.
Can I just chime in with something?
Sure.
It's really hard. It's just really, really hard to do. When I wrote the song, What I Know About Politics, I started out wanting to say something. This was, again, after 2016. And I started out wanting something, I'm going to say something and it's going to be definitive. Like it's going to be the thing and whatever I say, people aren't going to be able to argue with it, And then I just ended up saying, yeah, I really don't know anything. That's what happened. Like, shit, I don't know. So it's really, really hard to create something that's really good and also expressing something that's already, I don't know if it's already on the minds of people, but there's an expression that people need to have, they want to have, and they're not hearing it represented for them. And then a writer comes along and says what's not being said. Like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Anne Lamott, the writer, but she says, write what you want to go in the bookstore and find, because it's not there, it's not represented, but do you want to read that thing? So you write that thing if you want to find that thing.
Yep.
And so I think sometimes a musician is getting kind of an idea like somebody's not saying something here. And I think a lot of people are feeling this, or at least I am. Maybe other people aren't, but I am. And so I want to say this thing. And then you have to just try to say it as best you can. And so I think of a song like, I don't know if you guys know, in the early 70s, I want to say it was, when Merle Haggard released Okie from Muskogee. He really galvanized a part of our country that felt like things were spinning out of control. And man, he really captured it by saying, we have this kind of culture where we don't take our trips on LSD, and we don't burn the flag, and we don't shoot each other, and we still have respect for the college dean. And this is a part of America. And man, that song just took off like a rocket. It was just a huge hit on the countryside of things. And those were people who were feeling like they weren't being represented in the culture. And so that song, as I said, it was just wildly successful because somebody was speaking for their values, the things that they really thought was right about supporting the country. When on the other side of that, you had other musicians who were saying that, the whole free love and free sex and drugs and that whole thing, that was, really predominant. And there was plenty of music about that during that time. And so I don't think that, you necessarily have to write a song that everybody's going to like, but it's good to have music that represents primarily yourself, that you be honest about your own feelings, and then hopefully that you're speaking for other people.
Yeah, I think that's the hallmark of any, if you're going to make anything, you should probably strive not to appease the most amount of people, but just do whatever it is that's on your mind, and then put out as much of it as you can, accuracy by volume. And if it gets grabbed a hold, if it resonates with somebody, then so be it. But, this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Voltaire, though. It says, anything too stupid to be spoken is sung. So that's my excuse to just kind of ramble and just get it out on there. And then that's what music is for,
I love it.
Yeah, I was going to add to that kind of what you said, Joe. It's like, maybe it's all Danette, maybe it's about the intent. Maybe that's the most important thing, is if you're telling the truth, you're being honest with what you intend to say, what you wanted to say, and you're not trying to simply make money or sell records or be famous or whatever the more, I don't know, maybe more narcissistic intentions might be, then maybe that's what resonates the most. And if that's got a little bit of a message in it, then it's going to maybe start to catch fire and people will hear that message.
Right. I also think that it also has to do with the kind of age group that you represent, because younger music is, I think, very caught up in a lot of the things that younger people are caught up in. And so that's legitimate. I mean, okay, that's where they are. But if I write a song like that, I'm going to be a little embarrassed, because I'm a 50-year-old woman and I'm going to be writing a whole different thing. But hopefully there will be other people that will hear something that I've written and say, oh yeah, that's a song for a 50-year-old woman, and I'm a 50-year-old woman too. And so, yeah, I get that. So it also has to do with age group.
Yeah, I'd say that for myself personally, I'm 40 and I've played the drums for 30 years now, but only play the drums. And I don't find myself to be too creative to where I can write songs and write lyrics. And then getting into like the genre of music I kind of like and lean to is usually like harder rock, heavy metal, that sort of thing. But as I've gotten older, it's kind of gotten into softer music, and I have a wider range of music. But I would not say that I typically would seek out the types of music the three of you play and that you play typically. So Joe, it's hip hop and rap, right?
My YouTube views reflect that sentiment as well. Yeah.
No, but my point is, I love your songs, Joe, because I think you have that purpose and that intent behind it. And then to you, Danette and Wil, I love your songs. You know, I watched a bunch of them yesterday and today, and even the ones outside of just the ones meant for the Unity movement. I think what Danette and Wil are both kind of a blues jazz sort of feel for you guys. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although in my area, you have to know just a little bit of country to make everybody happy.
That's right.
I learned to get along with that.
Yeah.
And I find myself, you know, my wife has a much broader choice of music than I do. And she'll catch me, I'll listen to an Adele song, you know, it's where, you know, I'll be listening to a Metallica song right before that. So enough of me talking. Let's get into displaying all of your great talents. So Danette, would you let me put you on the spot first?
Yeah.
And play a little something for us?
Sure. I just wrote this. This is another bit of funniness, I guess. Light and shadow, I'm Rachel Maddow, and Tucker Carlson rolled in to one. I vanquished evil last night, punching out my nightstand. I woke up in the morning light with a purple hand. Soldier Nixon's famous heart, where does my line run? Across the tracks and across the stream with Chekhov's famous gun. Light and shadow, I'm Rachel Maddow, and Tucker Carlson rode into one. My gun was stolen from me, bad guy won the day. He said, "Hon, your gun is all yours," as he took the ammo away. I knew right then I lost my power, 'cause I gave in to my fear. Crowd said, "No, it's not time to go," so I lost what I held dear. Light and shadow, I'm Rachel Maddow, and Tucker Carlson rode into one. There but for the grace of God, there but for the grace of God, there but for the grace of God. Whoa, whoa, here I go. Light and shadow, I'm Rachel Maddow, and Tucker Carlson rode in to one.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Beautiful.
That's my song, Rachel Maddow.
Nice, nice.
Dare I ask your inspiration for that song?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't mind talking about it. I spend a lot of time thinking about Jordan Peterson's injunction to always keep in mind that you probably will not, under duress, behave honorably. That we all have this line down the center of our heart that divides good and bad, you know, and that's the light and shadow dichotomy that I refer to. And I came up with Rachel Maddow because it rhymes with shadow. Sort of. That's the closest rhyme I could come to. So I laughed when I wrote that. And I thought, if I think that's funny, maybe somebody else will. And so I stayed with that. And I thought, okay, well, it's kind of interesting that there are these teams, right? And people think that Rachel Maddow is the devil and that Tucker Carlson is great, and vice versa, depending on what team you're on. One is evil and the other one is good. And that's how people see them. And so I'm not saying what I think. I'm just saying that I'm the light and the shadow rolled into one. And that's just my thing. And then the references through the middle of the song are about some dreams that I had where there was a lot of light and shadow present. And I won't go into that anymore, but it's based on a dream.
Yeah. I thought I got it pretty quickly with Rachel Maddow and Tucker Carlson, those references. That's a great, the good versus evil, depending on which team you're on. Exactly.
Right.
So
just depends on your team.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
Unless you're not on a team.
Right. Try to get off a team.
That's one of the benefits of unity, I think.
Try to get off, decamp.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll kind of mix the diversity in here. Joe, you have a YouTube video you'd like us to play, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me put that on the screen here for everyone.
I don't know if you're familiar with Terrence McKenna. He passed away long before IDW, but I bet he would be a part of it if he was, He's a very interesting fellow.
So this is Joe Houck, or Scarecrow Joe. Create, right?
Yeah.
Find the others. Find the others. And then you will know what to do. Well, now you can find the others. You don't have to stick a flower in your hair and go to San Francisco. You just go to the web, find the others, and then using this technology, which was designed to keep track of us, to pick our pockets, and to sell us junk we don't want, use this technology to produce art. Massive amounts of subversive art. And all art is subversive. I'm not calling for an ideological agenda. All truth which springs from the individual is subversive.
Well, I've been working on a mission to be moving mountains. With a flick of this pen, I go head first into the freight. Gotta keep it going, I don't really know another way. Gotta keep it flowing till I find a way to penetrate. Better way to innovate, looking how to renovate the whole landscape till I'm etched in stone with a mask and a cape. I'm a superhero with no metronome. Bow down to the sound that built this home. Tools that I use to express what's vexing me. Tools that I use to express what's ecstasy, yeah. Music is the catalyst, the battle is madness. Mind possessed, got a consciousness I can't put to rest. Can't not digress, can't not profess that I'm a little obsessed. When the beat and the vocals coalesce into a beautiful death of the self and become one thing. Yin and the yang, always try to see the other side of everything. And even if you can't realize that it's still there, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be a whole lot humble, but you gotta call all that bullshit too. No I Ching, no Sear Stone, no bush burning from the unknown, no prophecy that's head blown, that's wishbone, that's fear zone, and I'm clear gone off of that trip. That's pamphlet type bat shit, that's Hamlet type tragic, and that's all drama, that's fabric. So what's real? I don't really know what's real anymore. I don't really think that I ever did know. I don't really know what's real anymore. I don't really think that I ever did know. That I ever did know. No, my understanding is so limited. Is life art or the derivative? Am I smart or just primitive to think that I could ever do anything so indicative of change for the better? What a noble endeavor to try to weather this tempest and go full bore into the eye of the storm, heart of the war. Lieutenant Dan, I want an encore, like that's all you got, cause I'm right here. Yeah, no man's land is always feast or famine, and I can't understand why I choose hunger. Torn asunder, can't help but think that it's all a blunder. Crapshoot, got Trump posing for a statue, got Clinton crying in her pantsuit, while the world choose between jackboots and this bad fruit, while Buck playing on a pan flute like it's all a dream. So obscene, wake me up when this slate's clean. I want a new start, maybe one without this lizard brain and this A part. You ain't gotta believe that. You ain't gotta believe that. World star.
It is not the function of the artist to be the critic. The winnowing out, the deciding what is good from what is bad comes later. And that's a community process. The community decides what is good and bad art, but the individual should pour this forth. I mean, this is what you are. You are some kind of a mystery suspended begs the question, what is it? In that moment, art can be created, and it is the only form of immortality that I have any certainty of, and it's available to everyone.
Well, I'm cursed and blessed with inquisitiveness of how I fit into this and not fit into that. When God handed out doubt, you must have hit in the back. I was in the front row with a big backpack saying, give me the ability to question, talk my past off as facts, and remember that I can't hold back. Burning embers from both ends, there's no surrender till Stonehenge, and I'm underground and I'm turned again. So hey, until then I'm gonna play. By play I mean create. Everybody want a bigger piece of cake, but I'm standing over here with an empty plate. Not a care in the world and in its end state. No coincidence, your insolence is an immense weight. Got a whole lot more I wanna say. Got a whole lot more I wanna create. Ain't none of you gonna get in my way. No, I'm gonna do this like every day. Yeah, follow my bent till I'm in the grave. Yeah, tell them I spent every day a slave. Whoa, yeah, tell them I just couldn't get away. Yo, what's up, what's happening? I don't give a damn about yo captain, I'ma keep rapping, cause it's fun. It's pretty fun. Danette, about your point about being preachy, you know, like I definitely feel that. Like I do slam poetry too, off and on. Of course, not during COVID and all that stuff, but man, it's really hard to get up there on a stage for 3 minutes, you know. And I see that with a lot of people too, you know, that it becomes like a pulpit to just kind of, you know, espouse your very specific, pointed perspective on something, and that very much can lend itself to getting preachy, you know. It's a delicate balance.
It is delicate. It's very delicate.
Okay. Joe, I think when you started that out, you talked about how you were going to use, or people should use, these technology platforms that were, and I'm assuming you mean like social media, YouTube, that sort of thing, to create content, to create all kinds of art, right?
Right. And what's kind of cool is that, like, Terrence McKenna, the guy speaking, he's alive during the internet, but I mean, not really during social media. He was very much ahead of his time as far as like how the internet's going to serve as a tool to be able to spread ideas and spread art, which is ideas and all that stuff.
Yeah, and again, got me foot tapping, and again, I wouldn't normally seek out hip hop myself, but I think it's a great song.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that. And Joe's got very specific Unity songs as well, and so we'll put a link to that in the show description as well. All right, Wil. So would you bookend us with your little live set?
Danette wrote the lyrics, so I might let her say a little bit about the lyrics. It's called Gaslight Blues, and I had not heard of the phrase to gaslight someone until she sent me the lyrics. So I had to look it up, and I learned a lot. And were there anything else you wanted to say about the lyrics? Well, I guess I should play it first before we discuss. Well, there's people talking sense, there's people talking some, but people talking vengeance, they ain't talking none. Better put out that gaslight, put it out now. Better put out that gaslight, you ain't gonna have me on. Now 2 and 2 make 4, and 4 and 4 make 8. And though they may have it in the name, a man don't. Put out that gaslight. Better put out that gaslight. You ain't gonna have me on. Now come on, all you people, help me flip the switch. Don't you want to be a human instead of a raging? Put out that gaslight. Better put out that gaslight. You ain't gonna have me on. Well, we may be outnumbered, We may be outclassed, but at least we know that we ain't the ones still clinging to the past. Better put out that gaslight. Put it out now. Better put out that gaslight. You ain't gonna have me on.
Yeah.
Good job, Will.
Good stuff.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Made it through.
I almost felt like clapping or snapping my fingers. We could all get going, but it probably wouldn't be in sync with a remote Zoom video.
Right. Yeah.
So, Danette, you wrote that song.
Yeah, there's Will left out a verse, but it was reasonable that he left it out because I wrote the verse, I am of a mixed race, but I will tell you straight that hating on my white half will not be my fate, because that's true of me. So if I sing the song at some point, I'll include that, but it works really well. The song works just fine the way that Will did it. So yeah, I wrote it and I had the line, the 2 and 2 make 4 and 4 and 4 make 8. And though their name is in the word, men don't. I had that as a verse for another song, but it wasn't the tone that I wanted to strike in the other song. So I saved it and then kind of did this more as a bit of a protest song against the sort of postmodern 2 and 2 don't make 4 sort of thing. It's all relative. If the sun rises in the east, that depends on what what do you mean by east? All that nonsense. I was kind of striking out at those ideas. That was the inspiration for the song. And I don't want people to gaslight me. I'm not going to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, to me, you three are you are musicians, but you're magicians for being able to write lyrics. And I think from what I can see, you all use a form of critical thinking to come up with these lyrics and these songs and put them all together. And myself, I try to use that for forming arguments, forming steel manning against my own arguments, that sort of thing. But I can never seem to put a song together. So that's fantastic that all three of you were able to do that and do so in a way that sheds light on some of these topics. Without turning anybody off. It doesn't, to your point, Danette, it doesn't sound teachy necessarily, but
good.
Yeah, it's catchy and sends a message though.
Good.
Should do a blues song about steel manning. That'd be a good one.
Steel Man Blues. I already hear it.
The steel man
That
blues.
has a double entendre that I couldn't just resist. My steel man would be a totally different thing.
That's some clickbait right there. That's perfect.
Those songs are about something. What was it? Yeah. Okay. Have you all seen on Netflix The Social Dilemma?
Yes.
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 No, but I've been seeing it happening all around me. I need to watch it, but I haven't. I don't need to watch it in a sense because I just see it happening everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I think you can probably get the gist of it. And
Sure.
It kind of starts out with all these former executives and very important personnel from all these different social media companies talking a bit about what some of the things they've seen go on in their history. And then it asks them all, so what's the problem? And at first, none of them can answer it. It's like nobody can pinpoint a single one problem or a single person that was evil and started this whole thing to be evil. But inevitably, it's created all these ways for us to gaslight people.
Yeah. I think that's exactly like Brett Weinstein kind of avenue right there where, if you talk about first principles, that he's just, it's just more generally speaking, just his game theory, just everything about game theory. And that's exactly where he talks about just incentives is everything. And I very much believe that the people of Google are not inherently evil or anything, that they've incentivized the system to, make money. And then that, however, that plays into our biology of how we are more reactionary towards anger and blah, 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 incendiary comments, things like that, that's what's going to fuel their revenue. And it's not so much that it's this unmanned machine really of just, it's dangerous, I think. Yeah, we have to be more conscious. Yeah.
Yeah. I was really torn about going back onto Facebook. I just did it maybe a week and a half ago or two. And the reason I went back, I was just in a dilemma about it. And then there was a question to Brett about whether or not you can fully live your values. Can you live your values 100%? And he said, you really can't, because as soon as you maximize for one thing, you're going to have these unintended consequences that end up being bad. So the example was, should you spend all your money on products that are environmentally responsible? Well, if you do that and they're just ragingly expensive, maybe that's not totally a benefit, because now he didn't say this is an implication that I'm coming up with, but what if you've got kids to feed? And so you can't 100% live out your values. And so with the social dilemma, I was off Facebook for a really long time, for a few years, and loved it. I was glad I was gone. But then I thought, okay, here I am trying to support this unity movement. I really want to. And I started out by just writing individual emails to friends. Totally honest. This is what I'm doing. Please come check this out. And I got very little interest. Some people never wrote back to me. Some people did and said that they were not interested because they were afraid that we would help elect their opponent. And so I had those conversations, but they were very limited. They didn't have any kind of mass outreach. So all right, for Unity, I will return to Facebook. But I'm still not totally convinced that maybe for the betterment of society, we really need to try having face-to-face conversations again. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. One of two things is going to happen. People are either going to learn that a culture is going to build up around Facebook, or people are going to know how to act, and we're going to have a way that there will be social cues so that they will know how to act, or it's going to become such a cesspool that nobody will want to go there because it's a place where people don't act right. One of those two things is going to happen. And when I left, I just felt like I was leaving a cesspool. So I'm in hopes that this little dab that I can do will help bring people around to behaving better and having better conversations. But it just remains to be seen.
Well, what I was going to ask is, so now we know from the social dilemma that the game is rigged against us, kind of to Joe's point.
Right.
We know with COVID that it's, and maybe not in all of your areas where you respectively are, but it's hard for you to go out and play live, probably, at least a lot.
Right.
And then, so we know like Twitter banned the Articles of Unity Twitter page, and fairly quickly within the movement of Unity 2020. So with all of these things against us, how do you three get your music out in a way that, spreads this way of people letting themselves open up and be vulnerable to hear other voices?
Yeah. Well,
that's been an insurmountable barrier for me at the moment. I haven't really been able to put my music out there. I did have an opportunity to play at a Trail of Tears event, which is Trail of Tears is a long story. It's a thing that bikers do where they drive the closest path that the Trail of Tears happened on, and it ends up in Alabama, and I got to go play a gig there. The band that was slated to play there, they were nice enough to let me sit in, and I had a ball there. But I didn't really get to talk politics with anybody. Everybody was partying quite heartily. They were going at it. So Unity would have fallen on deaf ears there, and
drunk ears.
Drunk ears, right? But I've primarily spread the message of Unity word of mouth. The best time I had doing it was when I was getting my eyes checked at the optometrist, because we were stuck there in the same room for a period of time, so he couldn't go anywhere. But he was genuinely interested in what I had to say. A lot of times I'm either met with like, yeah, this is a great thing. Yeah. Or a look of fear. Like some people would be like, what is this guy talking about? Because I just wasn't going on the scripts that normal people talk on when they speak. Or and some people would actually get into the nitty gritty with me. And the only complaint that I heard from that was just the coin flip. Like, wait, we're going to decide with a coin flip? And I countered that with, well, if both candidates are equally competent and patriotic, a coin flip shouldn't matter because they both could lead easily and equitably. So that's what I have to say about that, I suppose.
Well, I think it's part of Jordan Peterson's message that I've always liked is that to this idea that one person can do enough to change the world, right? It seems to be such a ridiculous concept. But if you take care of yourself first, figure out your own world, then you will kind of reverberate to the people around you. So even if you're not specifically out singing about unity or talking about unity, it'll just rub off. So maybe some of those people in the bar will follow you and follow wherever you're going, and that will lead them to unity. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have some family members that are, I guess maybe aside from my music and just, like what you're saying, leading by example, I guess, just being a person that's noticeably not a part of either of the parties, and not going to engage in that. And then that creates discussion of, well, what do you believe in? Or what part are you, and then that creates discussion.
Right.
Yeah. And just, what's kind of disheartening just right now is that, as soon as, we officially upended the Unity 2020 movement or campaign, and rightfully so, but just how on the heels of the first debate, every one of my friends that had anything to say was just like something along the lines of I guess Joe Jorgensen it is, or somebody else, or can we please have another candidate? I'm like, guys, I told you, we had an opportunity, but everybody seems to be, even if they don't know about Unity 2020, they're creeping towards that sentiment, as a nation, I think. And it really, I think, is just going to take some kind of, like they say, like a groundswell, whatever, The Rock coming out instead of, endorsing Joe Biden, maybe endorses Unity 2020 on 2024 or something,
Yeah.
And just to get everybody aware of the idea, because I think the idea itself is something that it's kind of hard to refute, would not be better than what we currently have,
Agreed. Okay, guys, I think I'll go to each of you if you want to tell our listeners and viewers kind of where they can find your music, your videos, or all of that, where to follow you on social media, even though we talked about the social dilemma. So if you're still on social media, where to follow you there, please, by all means, go ahead. So how about you, Joe?
My primary, I guess, where most of my music is on just YouTube, just Scarecrow Joe. I also have Scarecrow Joe on Spotify. You could follow there too. And I also have a Twitch channel, which I've been trying to live stream and talk about Unity and, sing my Unity 2020 songs, all that stuff. And in Instagram, the Scarecrow Joe is my IG. And I'll be posting a bunch of Unity 2020 stuff soon.
Okay. Danette, how about you?
Well, I have my song, What I Know About Politics, that's on SoundCloud. So if you go to SoundCloud, you can just type my name, Danette Beavers, and find that song there. And I have a couple of videos on YouTube under my name, just real casual things. And that's pretty much it. I am on Facebook. I'm not a real great poster, but, well, I'm there.
Will?
Well, I don't really have much out on the internet, but you can find my YouTube channel, My Name Forever, with the number 4. Long story how I got that name. Had it a long time. And you can add me on Facebook, Wil Bruninga, Wil with 1 L, Bruninga, Bruninga. Like I say, I haven't really put out much, but I will intend to do that in the future. So add me and you'll see some cool stuff.
Fantastic. So I want to thank all three of you for taking the time. Being in a volunteer movement is, there's a lot of time we spend already doing a lot of things we do that the public probably doesn't know about, but you guys all took an hour or 2 hours out of your time today to spend with me, and I really appreciate it. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll wrap it up there. So thanks everyone for tuning in. For more conversations and content like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you prefer, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. If you prefer to consume your podcast in video format, you'll find full episodes and clips on YouTube. Follow the UnityNow podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram by clicking the links in the description below. And be sure to sign up and get involved at articlesofunity.org. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.